Welcome back to Total Disclosure, guys. My name's Ty. I am the host and creator of the show. Tonight, we have a special recording. And this will be going out in a few different varieties. I recently have been involved in some debate and podcasts having to do with the Twentynine Palms UFO sighting of over 29 palms, and with Marines, over 50 witnesses reported a massive response to what seems to be a craft much like the Phoenix Lights, a formation in a V, 5 lights seen in the sky, and then flares in a massive response were in fact put forth. And you know, the videos, the testimony, we've pretty much at this point gone through all of it. What we haven't done is talk to someone who was there. Like fate would have it, gods, I don't know, aliens, who knows, but it aligned correctly for once. And we are going to be able to speak to one of the witnesses, was the first person reported the story that ended up on Weaponized by Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. The case has obviously been broken by them, so the credit has to go to them. Absolutely. They broke this case, and the DOD and Pentagon's response to it was pretty much that, you know, this was nothing more than a training exercise, that it was flares. And the community literally just said, okay, sure. I don't know. For me, it was wild looking back on it, but I was one of those people. I think so much was happening at the time in ufology that we let our guard down. We started trying to get transparency pushed, work with the government. Hell, I've had congressmen on the show. I mean, I get it, but I think we forgot something along the way, and that is that we are so blessed this day. It is so nice to be in this community right now because there is stuff to talk about almost on a daily basis. But that was the problem for this case. So tonight, we're going to get to the bottom of it, to the bottom of what the witnesses saw, why the DOD response is inaccurate and maybe a lie, and what integrity does witness testimony have in a world where you can convict someone for life in prison or even the death penalty in some states. Why have we let our fundamentals go? With that being said, let's introduce that witness. Military Marine witness number 1. It is very nice to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you reached out and you said that you'd like to clear the air.
That's right.
And to clear up some of the confusion that the community and specifically the debate, that angle, the whole DOD, their response to this, I think that is where obviously there's a huge division, right? Amongst the community, at least.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and being there myself, I see this on the internet everywhere, and I just want to clear some things up and hopefully answer a couple questions that haven't been answered yet.
Yeah, so you gave testimony to Jeremy and George as part of that Weaponized episode, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell me a little bit about you and your military job, what your title is, and essentially what you were doing and why you were at Camp Wilson?
Yeah, so I joined the Marine Corps in 2018. I actually went to 29 Palms twice, or Camp Wilson twice. So the first time was 2019, uh, and I guess you could call it a home base where I was stationed. I was stationed on Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and to go to the 29 Palms, infantry units go there before they deploy. It's kind of part of your workup. You go there for about a month to a month and a half. That time we were there for a month, and it's basically a big training exercise. You have people from the East Coast, you have people from the West Coast, from all sorts of different types of jobs. Personally, I was a mortarman. So if you don't know what that is, we shoot bombs out of tubes to include illumination rounds, which I guess we'll get into a little bit later. Yeah, so
Continue.
that's pretty much it. I got out in 2022 and just been living life ever since.
Okay, so you remember the night in question?
Yes,
Can you give me the date of what that was?
I believe it was April 20th in 2021.
So 420.
Yes, that's how I remember it.
Oh,
And we were not
okay.
smoking that day. We actually seen what we saw. So
Yeah, you're in the Marine Corps, so you're being drug tested, aren't you?
yeah, occasionally, regularly, I should say.
Was there any alcohol in your system that night?
No, there was not. They have a pretty tight lockdown on that when you're at Camp Wilson.
And why would someone be at Camp Wilson?
So it's
I was a mortarman on 4/20/2021, tell me why I was at Camp Wilson.
yeah, so it offers Camp Wilson is desert. It's in the Mojave Desert, so it offers a little bit more of a realistic and current modern battlefield training for to go to the Middle East usually. So as a mortarman, I was there to support the infantry guys. So if you're a mortarman, you would be shooting rounds in support of the guys that are on the ground.
Oh, really? So you is it safe to say that you have worked with flares immensely?
Oh yeah, I mean, in and out of the field week after week, and we always do night shoots when we're in the field. So we're usually in the field about a week at a time, and then every night we would shoot illumination rounds, which I think a lot of people are confusing those lights with illumination rounds or flares. So we shot those pretty regularly, so I'm very familiar with their patterns and flight times and whatever else. So pretty familiar
Right,
with this type of stuff.
right. So let's not waste too much time. I want to get right into the heart and soul. So, can you talk to me about the moment you spotted this formation of lights and did you see it appear? How long was the duration of your experience with this?
Yeah, so this happened at nighttime. We were all done for the day. I didn't personally see them appear, but there was a guy that was outside. The little buildings that we lived in were called hooches, so we were all inside the hooch, laying down, getting ready for bed. One of the guys outside that was on the phone, he came in and said, "Hey guys, come check this out. What is this?" So I walked out there and I seen a triangle of red lights. And my first thought was, well, those are illumination rounds or flares. But then a couple minutes later, I broke out the camera and could see the black shape underneath. So, yes, I was responsible for a few of the photos and
Okay.
videos.
Someone alerts you to the craft being there. One of the things that I think is contested a lot, and before I get to my formal questioning, I kind of just want to loosely ask this because when you were alerted to this and you came outside your hooch, how many other people were confused? How often is it that you are not alerted to a base wide training exercise like what this was going to be? But even if it was just what you thought at first, Illuma rounds, wouldn't you have known about that previously?
Yeah, so there were probably 50 plus people in the same area that I was in, maybe more. Pretty much all of them were amazed and confused, which is strange because the area that I was staying in, was comprised of different MOSs or jobs. So everyone, you had mortarmen, artillery, regular infantry guys, cooks, you name it. They were all there in that one spot, but we were all confused. So
So this was a spectrum of different job titles, a bunch of people in different skill sets, all confused at what the hell was happening. Now, again, I want to reiterate, because you said in your area there was at least 50. So I think the number probably is higher, but let's just start here. One of the questions that I was so surprised that wasn't asked is, how far away was the formation of lights roughly? If you had to estimate, were they over the mountains or on the flats, or where were these lights when you first spotted them?
yeah, so they appeared to me as if they were right above those mountains in the video, which I would guess is maybe just shy of a mile from where I was standing. So
Okay.
maybe 3/4 of a mile, maybe a little bit more.
So that's how far they were away from you. Okay. Now, can you roughly tell me what the altitude would have been on something like this? Guesstimate. I know it's been a while. I wish it was asked within 24 hours, but if you can try to guesstimate the altitude of these lights, it would immensely help.
Yeah, I'll try the best I can. I'm not very good at guessing altitude, especially from how long ago that's been. But I would say probably 3 or 4 thousand feet, and that's just a very, very rough estimate.
So, and put your eyes, because we often, you know, I think all of us have done this, right? We've pointed our smartphones at the moon, and all you see is a glowing white dot, right? No detail. And by the way, that Samsung phone you're using is using AI to enhance those photos. So don't tell me you're actually taking photos of the moon. I don't want to hear it. But I mean, there are lenses that will get great, moon photos, but they're on actual cameras. But smartphones, and that's what you're using to film this, correct? A
Yeah,
smartphone.
it was an iPhone, I believe, an 11.
So an iPhone 11, even an iPhone 15, you point it at the sky. I mean, these things are made for selfies and for pictures and video. Now they have the cinematic mode, but this is for on the ground kind of stuff. It's not for stuff that's in the sky, thousands of feet up and thousands of feet away. That's
Right.
that's that's not what these cameras are built for. So we all know that with our eyes, we're seeing a lot more than what the camera's showing us in the videos that that were shown and um, given to Weaponized, which will definitely play some of them, at least two of them, because I would like to walk through them with you. But what were you seeing? Were you seeing any definition to this?
So I personally wasn't, but that's just because I wear contacts and I had taken them out to go to bed. But I remember someone who was standing beside me said you can see a body. And then I
Really?
didn't see the body until I reviewed the picture that I took, which is the one that's blasted all over the internet. And then I seen the black shape underneath.
Oh, I haven't heard that. The body.
Yeah, it's actually in one of the videos that were published on the Weaponized podcast. You can hear I believe you can hear that on there.
Okay. All right.
So you actually can't see the body in a video. You can only see it through the still photos.
Oh, okay. So that would be through the
But in
still.
a video, someone did mention that you could see a body,
All right.
and
Well,
you can hear that in the background.
yeah, we don't have to. Okay, that's interesting. So, all right, I wanna pull up at least one or two of these videos, just to watch the actual craft as it passes and hear some of the people in the background. So I bring this one up on purpose.
There's more lights around it.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Do you see that other light, by the way?
There's more
Was it
lights around
above
it.
or below?
It was above it. So me and Arthur noticed it last time we watched the video, but you see a dot of light appear above the craft in reference of the frame. It happens so quick.
I
So
did see it. I think there's a video, one of those videos, I could see it through my phone, and I mentioned it.
and you mention it.
Yeah, I'm
There's
pretty sure
more
that's in
lights
one of
around
those
it.
videos. Yeah, right there. I said there's more lights around it.
Yeah, there's more lights around it. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that you did
I can
say it.
see that. Yeah.
See right there up top. I'm gonna jump a little. I'm just gonna jump ahead. I want to keep going. Could this have been flares in your expert opinion? Any type of known flare, whether shot or launched from the sky.
So to me, I did think so at first because of the color, and usually when you think of a flare, you think of red. But usually they fall a lot faster than that, and then you can see a smoke trail behind them. But whatever these lights were, they were not falling.
So they were maintaining their altitude. And if in your expert opinion with flares, it seems that the longest lasting that can remain their formations is around 7 to 10 seconds, right?
Yes.
And then they start to have like this smoke trail, uh and they kind of, not saying they look like this, but they start to, those aren't, I mean, those are a bit of an extreme example, but these are flares that, look, like they were in formation, they're coming down, but you could clearly see the smoke trail, and that these are like headed in a downward angle. We don't see that at any time in any of these videos. Like it actually looks like it moves further away. Did it move? How long did you see it for?
So from the time that I walked out there to the time that I put my phone down and walked back inside, I would say I seen it for about 15 minutes. But you have to think
So there's
this.
no, again, I just want to ask, in your expert opinion, are there any flares that can do that? Stay in formation for that for even 15 minutes. Most of the videos, there's a big contention that, oh, all the videos are like 36 seconds. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Right,
So
yeah. So no, not for 15 minutes. Plus, you have to think the guy that went and got us, he stood out there and watched them for a few minutes and then came and got us. And then we watched them for a few minutes before we started recording. And then all those videos, the reason why they're so short is because I was taking them and then like uploading them on Snapchat and then taking another video, uploading it on Snapchat. And that's kind of what everyone was doing. So there's not really, no one really recorded the entire length of the thing.
okay. Is there any way that you could somehow get a hold of the metadata for all the timestamps of videos that were taken, so that we can, because if we can add up enough time that these maintained us, altitude, I think that would essentially break the debate. That would break the contention that these are flares.
Yeah, I could do that. But like I said, you have to add a couple minutes before because someone seen them, watched them for a few minutes, and then came and got us. And then we watched them for a few minutes and then started recording. So
Right, right.
whatever that time adds up to be, add a couple minutes to that.
Yeah, so the number we kept hearing in the weaponized testimony was someone. There were multiple people who said up to 35 minutes. Now, I'm gonna go and say that there's fluff to that. So I would say 25 minutes in real time, like real expectation. But if this thing was there for 28 minutes over a military installation and it wasn't dropping, I want to talk to you about the convoy. Now, all of a sudden, you guys are recording this thing and you guys look like you're in your skibbies in some of the pictures, which is kind of funny because it seems like you were getting ready to go to sleep.
Right.
So you were not, again, I want to hammer this home. You were not told of any prior training on, especially training that would go right over your head and right around you, all around you.
Right.
Nothing,
So
nothing like that.
no, we were not made aware. Usually you would know
I was gonna
because
say, how uncommon is that?
yeah, kind of. I mean, it can happen, but for that specific exercise, we usually knew because I was actually working for the cooks in the kitchen at the time, and we would have to know. So if they came back late, we would prepare them meals, or you name it. Or this whole exercise was for everyone that was staying at Camp Wilson, and everyone was there at Camp Wilson. If that
Huh.
makes sense.
Right.
So if you're going to
So
the field, you're going to support another element. So more than one element would be gone at a time. So, but the base was
right.
pretty full at that time, that night.
What do you think? What do you think of the DOD and Susan Go, the spokesperson, as well as the Pentagon? What do you think of their attempts to say this was a training exercise planned well in advance?
Well, I did hear that she made a statement within 24 hours of Jeremy Corbell's Weaponized episode. And to think that she could get that information within 24 hours is kind of mind blowing. Like, that sounds very impossible because the
It's
military is not
awesome,
quick with that stuff.
dude. The slogan is "Hurry up and wait."
Right.
Right? Like that. Essentially, I've heard. I told you I come from a Marine Corps family. Like they'll be the first ones to tell you that most of, unless you're like deployed in an active combat zone, most of your life is hurry up and wait. That's
Right.
what um, and obviously, you people have made immense sacrifices in the military. I am not saying that you need to see active combat to serve your country, but I'm just saying, like the government, no government has ever been, within 24 hours they have the whole answer, right?
Yeah, no way.
From a base that conducted the exercise years before.
Right. They would have to dig up records if they had any.
If right, if so, is it? I want to ask you: do you think that there is some sort of cover up happening? I hate to ask you outright like this, but if they're lying about a training exercise, it's the Phoenix Lights case again, right?
Right.
And it slipped under the rug this time. And that's tragic because if this thing is why do we keep seeing these over our military installations? I just had Robert Salas on the show, the guy who had his hand on the key of the nuclear launch at a nuclear launch facility when a UFO shut 10 nukes off, and these things aren't connected, right? They're separated analog wise so that if one goes down, they all don't go down. and it shut these things off one by one. And he says it's a message. Do you think we're getting sent a message?
That I don't know. I don't know. It does seem weird that there is a pattern of these UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, being over military bases. So it could either be some type of reconnaissance. Maybe they are trying to send some type of message. That I'm not too sure about.
Yeah, well, I only asked that because Lou Elizondo has his book just came out, and he claims to have run ATIP and the program the Pentagon had about investigating UFOs, but there's a lot of contention. But it's actually brought up a lot that, like, we have to at least look at it like they are doing reconnaissance on our capabilities, because that's what we would do if we were to, invade an enemy. But we don't have to jump the gun and say we don't know what these things are here for. We just want to know from our government that they are here, an acknowledgement that this is happening. Because in your expert opinion, you're saying there's no way these can be illumination rounds. They stayed up for far too long, in formation for far too long, at altitude. Now, would you say they remained at 3,000 to 4,000 feet the whole time?
Yes, wherever they were, and again, that's just a very, very rough estimation of how high they were. But however high they were, they definitely stayed there the entire time.
When they, meaning the 29 Palms Base, like the when the base responded and launched the very distinguishable flares you can see in the video.
Video number 5. And this is near the end of the event after they launched the 2 flares. But if you look closely, you'll also see the 5 light formation.
Please tell me this is the end of the world.
You can kind of see them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're in they're for anyone who does. Okay, look at the N. Can you estimate about how far from you those were?
They look to be right above the object. So again, right around a mile, maybe slightly under a mile.
Okay. That gives us a good reference frame. Because so when you saw the 2 flares or whatever, I don't know if it was just 2 or just 2 that was caught on camera, but was that the start of this massive response?
Yeah, I believe so. So I don't remember exact time frames, but I believe the lights disappeared, those illumination rounds came down, and then everything went dark. The illumination rounds eventually burned off, and then we went back inside, and then we heard the aircraft coming through. So we went outside to look at it, and then that's when we seen the convoy coming. So yeah, I believe pretty much immediately after those illumination rounds were dropped, that's when the response happened.
Okay, can you speak to how many vehicles responded, and what other airborne what were the airborne assets that were deployed as well?
Yeah, so I seen
to best of your recollection.
Yeah, so I remember when we seen the convoy coming through, we stood there and counted them, and it was, I believe, 50, 55. Some people say higher, but I believe I remember it being around 55. And I do have a few photos of that, and I think you can count at least 30 headlights in the photos.
Yeah, I have one of the photos up now. I'll have it much. Right now, it's only showing like for a half portion of the screen, but I will fix that in editing, guys. So you'll be able to see these pictures and videos. We'll be playing as well. like that, but it is up right now. And I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 30. Yeah, upwards of 25 to 30, at least minimum. So again, I'm going to circle back. I'm just going to keep doing it on you. Would you have known about this?
Would
If
have
this,
would I have known about the
if this was
the
a training
convoy?
exercise, I'm just going to keep asking because I want to keep repeating it because I want people to keep hearing it. For this kind of response with 50 vehicles and helicopters and jets being deployed, would you know about it?
Yeah, I believe if it was something that to that scale, we would have known about it. I mean, we're talking 50 something vehicles, which is very strange to see in one convoy. And then we probably would have been aware of those aircraft that flew by.
Now, why is it odd to see that many vehicles in a convoy on a training exercise?
Well, usually, if you're in a convoy, it's not 50 plus vehicles. It's usually a platoon or maybe company number, which would be, I don't know. I didn't work with vehicles, but it would definitely be around maybe 15 max that you would see at one time.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to make yourself a huge target. If you
Right.
have
So
50 to 70 vehicles, you can't, that's, you don't, that's not tactical. So, do you think that the base has more information about what happened that night? And they went out and tried to figure out what this was.
yeah, so I do believe that the convoy and the aircraft that came out after was an attempt to see whatever the thing was, and not to mention the illumination rounds that were popped off above it. So
Right.
I do believe that they were aware of whatever it was, and that was their response for it.
And I was literally just going to bring it up. Now, if I'm the military, okay, hear me out on this. And I know, during that debate, there was a couple times where I think you were a little upset with your fellow veteran um, for not like I don't want to bring that up. I don't want to go too deep into that, but there's that camaraderie I know between veterans, and you guys are among the most credible of the credible of observers. And the fact that if I was a military and I was in charge and a UFO like that appears above the base, I am going to send that massive response for two reasons. Number one, I'm going to check this out. Number two, well, that gives me a good reason to say this was a training exercise because we did actually launch an exercise, but the public doesn't need to know about it's not that they're not telling the truth, it's that they're leaving context out. Does that make sense? If you can see what I'm saying, they're like, it wasn't a training exercise, it was an actual real world tasking, just like, the Nimitz was. But in this case, they're just denying it. They're saying, no, it's just a training. But we have all the records of the vehicles we deployed because we actually did deploy them. We're just not going to tell you the real reason why.
Right. So there should be records of those vehicles that went out because when you check out a vehicle, you have to record.
There are.
Yeah, you have to record where you're going, how many miles you drove. So there for sure are records out there somewhere, but who
No,
knows where they are, who's covering them up.
no, we have. So there was some that were obtained.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. So I will put them up on the screen. I can't do it right now, but So for the audience watching, they'll be seeing it. But essentially, I mean, they responded with within 24 hours. This was a training exercise here, and that's what makes this even crazier. That we ended up with a list of all the stuff and everything that they sent out, right? Within 24 hours. Like, how often does that happen?
Never with our government.
Not with our government. No, it doesn't add up. None of the timeline adds up for me from the DoD side. So that's why, and I really want to know your thoughts, because in the videos you can hear people talking about aliens, UFOs. Are you or have you been interested in the topic in your life?
Before this, no. I just left it to the experts there. I didn't really have an interest, and I've never seen anything that would spark an interest, so I just kind of left it alone before this event. And
Right.
still, I'm not really super into it, but yeah, so pretty much I've never been into it.
What was the feeling on the ground when you're seeing it? What was the atmosphere like between, brothers? What? Because you're all grown men. Was anyone like confused and scared, or was anyone? I know there wasn't chaos because we can't really hear chaos, and I don't think that there would be chaos in it for a group of men like that. But was there anyone that was, is there anything else that happened on the base that night that was weird?
Other than the triangle itself and then the response, no. But as far as the atmosphere on the ground, scared, no. Confused, 100%. And like I said, that whole area was full of different types of jobs, people that had different types of jobs. So someone would have not been confused if they knew what it was, but none of us knew what it was. And we were just very confused, talking it over, recording it, a little bit excited. Um, but that wouldn't happen with something that you see every day. If that was
Right.
something we saw every day in training, we would have blew it off and not even brought our phones out. But as you can see, I think in one of the videos, there's a row of those hoochers that I spoke about with
Yes.
anywhere from 10 to 15 Marines inside. So you do the math on that. Everyone came outside. So if that was something we would have seen before, you would not have had that response from the guys on the ground, if that makes
Right.
sense.
No, absolutely. I can absolutely agree. We showed it in the podcast as well, and that's when I made the comment. Look, they're out there in their skivvies, like
Yeah.
their underwear. Like it seems like they were caught off guard. You said you were about to go to sleep. You took your contacts out and everything. If you were, if there was a training exercise like this being conducted over your heads, I think maybe you guys would have all stayed out, or maybe talked. It would have been passed down and like, hey guys, just I know you might be trying to get some sleep tonight. Like I said, if there were a case where training happened in this weird fashion where you guys weren't involved, you would at least know something about it. And that you wouldn't be out there in your skivvies, like taking your contacts out and brushing your teeth and being like, wait, what is that? Why? Wait, why is our base responding? Like, that didn't confuse anybody?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, we got ready for bed. We were laying down, heard nothing of an exercise happening. And usually you hear, hey, this company is going to the field today. They're going to be there tonight, or this company is going to support them. We didn't hear anything about that. And then for the past few nights, or the nights before that, nothing was really happening. It was unusual to see any aircraft flying by. And then this just happens out of nowhere. So it was
Right. Out of
very
nowhere, you
suspicious.
have And about how many times or how many helicopters were deployed?
I don't remember an exact number, but I remember seeing groups of them, and we've seen at least 3 to 4 groups, and
So
then there would be 3 to 4 in each group.
so 3 to 4 groupings at the least.
Yes.
So about 12 helos. Anything else deployed?
I believe, and my memory's getting the best of me for this one, but I believe there were jets that came maybe 5 minutes after the helicopters.
Now, how were they flying at an altitude that alarmed you?
Not necessarily, because we would see them. The airfield is pretty close to Camp Wilson, so you would see them pretty low if you did see them.
Okay.
So
But
nothing alarming, but other than them being there in the first place.
right. So that in itself would be out of the ordinary, right? But
Yes,
and they were headed towards this object.
correct.
Wow. So again, I wanted to when you made eye contact when you made eye contact with this object, did you did it some people say they feel like a peacefulness or a serendipity, and it's like the world around them kind of goes away and they're very honed in. um did you experience anything like that?
I wouldn't say peacefulness or serendipity, but I was very focused and tunnel vision toward this thing.
Right, right.
But
How
other
many
than that, no weird emotions or feelings.
Okay. Yeah, a lot because those triangle craft, there's a lot of people that think those are ours. Do you think there's a possibility that the United States is testing its own craft against the best of the best? I have to ask.
I don't know if I have an opinion on that, but I've definitely heard some compelling arguments for that, and it would make sense.
It would. It would, right? Who else to test it on? Like and this might have been an actual training, but a training of, hey, we're going to fly an advanced technology systems over you, uh, our own reverse engineered UFO, and your base is going to respond to it. And, only those who need to know, which would be now, did you ever ask the base commander that, like, or try to talk to the base commander?
No way.
Why?
So
Why?
I guess there was sort of
A
stigma
stigma?
behind. Yes. So I did not take it any higher than myself as far as rank goes. I just
You were honestly that scared to report it?
Yeah, because I knew it was gonna be sort of, "Hey, I've seen this thing in the sky. Any answers? Yeah, it's just this or just that. Go away." It would be that type of thing. No one would entertain it.
David Grush spoke about people being hurt over this topic, threatened. You were never threatened by anyone to not speak about this?
No. So there were no briefings at the time or afterward, and I've kept my name away from this for that reason. So no, no one's contacted me, and I've just kind of kept on the down low for this.
I really like I really, 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 really like that you're doing this. It is answer because I had so many questions like the altitude and now what are your typical flares? What are their max altitudes? And if they're like say they're dropped from a plane or jet or however they claim to have dropped these, that what would be the altitude they would drop them, and why aren't these flares again but from this perspective?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how high they would drop them or what the altitude would be, but what I do know is that they would fall if they were dropped, either shot out of a gun or dropped. They would have the smoke trail behind them, and they would eventually fall. These things never fell, and they just went away. The type of illumination rounds that I fired out of mortar tubes, you could see them, and sometimes you could see the parachutes open on them. You could see the smoke trail. You could see them move with the wind. And these things just sat there, and it's in the desert, so there's a lot of wind rolling through the desert. So you would think that they would move.
Yeah,
They
it's a
sat there in the same formation roughly, and they just didn't. They never fell. They just stayed in the exact elevation from my perspective.
people argue that in the videos you can see a change in altitude, but I bring up the point that I think it's perspective, that this craft is moving back. Once the base responded, this craft seem to like back off?
Yeah, so from what I remember, within a few seconds of those illumination rounds popping off over top of it disappeared within somewhere within 10 seconds. It just completely just the lights went out.
Huh. Just phased out.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it move, like try to run away. I didn't see the lights flickering out. I just seen the lights gone. They just disappeared.
And would any chemical flare do that? It doesn't sound like it, right? They wouldn't just go out like that
No,
without
so
dropping.
usually they flicker a little bit before they go out,
Right,
but these
right,
did not flicker. It's almost like turning off a light switch.
right. That's kind of what we hear in the other witness, the people, other witnesses as well, is that it was like it was there 1 minute and it was just gone the next. It wasn't like it phased out. It wasn't like it blinked out. Well, yeah, it was more like it blinked out rather than it like phased out and dimmed. It was just there and gone. And we see that in a lot of cases, in instantaneous acceleration. It's part of the 5 observables that they came up with from the Pentagon UFO office. So I it's weird. It's weird to me, because I think this case. Do you think the timing of this case had an effect on the way the community took it?
Yeah, so I'm not really too big into the community, but I did see a lot of, I guess, shunning of this case. Most people just kind of glanced at it without listening to any witness testimony and kind of, shoved it away immediately. So I don't know if it was timing or what, but it definitely was gone as fast as it came up.
And you, I need you to do something that's a little off the beaten path, but if anyone were to ask or question a hoax being perpetrated, why? Now, first off, it doesn't really even make sense because you're trying to keep your identity hidden, and you're not trying to make money off of this. But people have posed that you guys hoaxed this. Did you guys hoax this?
No.
I just gotta ask, right? Why else?
Yeah.
Why not just straight up ask? Did you
Yeah, I
guys
mean,
hoax a training exercise and try to get Jeremy Corbell to get riled up and show something, on TV?
absolutely not. I mean, I didn't even really want to be associated with this, and I still really don't,
I
other than
know
to
you don't.
answer questions. The only reason I'm really even doing this is I see so many ridiculous responses online, and I just want to clear the air on them and answer those, simpler questions. But no, there's no reason to hoax this, and if I did, I'd definitely put my name out there. I mean, this thing's been on Rogan's podcast. It's been on the New York Times or New York Post. It's been everywhere. So if I were to hoax this, I would want my name out there, I would think.
Right. You'd be doing what every other UFO grifter does. You would put your name right there and you would go do the UFO lecture circuit. I'm a Marine. I'm credible. I saw a UFO. Want to hear about it? Let me tell you all about it. Here's my research I've done. Or write a book. I mean, that seems to be the trend of the ufologist, right? But you're
Right.
not trying. You guys aren't trying to do that. Are you responsible for getting the 5 witnesses together?
Yeah. So I got the guy that came in and got us, the one who first seen it, and then those witnesses were all in the same hooch as me. So I still have their numbers, and I sent them over to Jeremy Corbell, and he's the one that did the interviews with them.
Would they be willing to speak again?
Probably. I could ask them.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. I want to awaken this case because I think I know you don't know UFO lore, but I'm sure people have mentioned the Phoenix Lights to you a lot. In
Yes, I have.
reference to this case.
I have heard that reference. Yes, and I've seen the pictures.
Well, no, I highly advise that you go watch the documentary by Dr. Lynn Katai. She's actually going to be a guest on the show in the future coming up. It's called the Phoenix Lights documentary. Watch it, man. And you will be blown away at the similarities, not only in the sighting, but the response. That's what we have to look at is the military narrative that they try to put out there, right? It's the or the military industrial complex, and the media, when they don't want stories out, stories don't go out. When they don't want them, the United States government is pretty good about keeping tabs on the media. It's the mainstream media is falling apart. I think more people watch Rogan than CNN now, but like what we consider mainstream media is dying. It's dying, and people are awakening to their news, not the news, their news. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it gives you the opportunity to tell your side of the story at least to, I mean, you've done it on Weaponized, which is arguably one of the biggest UFO platforms, but, would you swear to, if Congress, maybe not Congress, but if Arrow, the all domain all domain anomaly resolution office, if they asked you to testify in secrecy, would you give them testimony?
Yeah. Yeah, I have nothing to hide. If they want answers from me, then I'd be more than willing to give it to them.
So you would, again, like, I'm not going to say like you're going to go David Fravor it and go in front of Congress or Ryan Graves, but you would be willing to present the evidence to the public channels that are available supposedly for people like you that don't want to get in trouble for reporting something and having it ruin their career. because that is absolutely the furthest thing. And that is what the problem is. The problem is the waters were muddied so long ago, buddy, that we are desperately trying to emerge and keep breathing with this UAP topic. Change the moniker to UAP, not UFO, right? We shouldn't be using the word alien anymore either. I think it has a bad connotation. It makes people think of little green men that probe southern folk, in the cornfield. So I think we need to remove ourselves from baggage like that. But do you think what you saw is what is classically identified, not or classified as a UFO, an unidentified flying object?
Yeah, if you want me to answer it literally from the
Literally.
yeah, so from the definition of UFO, unidentified,
Yeah,
that part.
that's what we should be doing. Again, if anyone is if anyone out there listening or viewing, if you're adding baggage to the word UFO, then you're doing yourself a disservice. What he is saying is that the craft was unidentifiable, meaning they don't know what it is.
Right, and that's why this is blown up to what it is because it's unidentified.
And it was not flares. You
No,
worked
I do
with
not believe it
flares.
was flares.
You worked with flares. You know these were not flares.
Correct.
How long did you work with flares?
So I was a mortarman the entire time, the entire length of my contract, which was 4 years.
Okay. So, not only do you have a good idea about flares, but do you have a good idea about aircraft that are in our inventory?
Not in great detail, but yeah, I am pretty much familiar. If I seen something, I would know if it's ours or not.
So the craft that you were seeing was either unknown technology or other.
Yeah, so I could not identify it with anything in the United States military inventory, and neither could the 50 plus people around me at the time. So I have no reason to believe that it was ours.
In one of the videos, you hear a gentleman say, I knew this research wasn't for nothing. This is a UFO. Aliens exist. Um, that guy, a lot of people point to that and say, well, there's bias. There's observer bias right there. It's out in the open. What would you say to that?
I mean, that guy was just a goofball. I know exactly who that is. He's just a funny guy. There was nothing mischievous behind that. Yeah, it was just a joke at the time.
Is he one of the five?
No, he's not.
Interesting. Maybe maybe we can find him.
Yeah,
Because
I do.
I would love to hear if he's actually into the subject. I'd like to hear his thoughts on what this thing was.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually is. Like I said, he's a goofball, so maybe he was just making a joke, like about the research and everything, or maybe he is into it. I don't know, but I remember him being a funny guy, so that
Yeah.
was just a joke.
How long did you spend with these guys at that facility?
Well, they were part of my unit, but they weren't in my platoon. I know a lot of military lingo here, but I didn't see them every day afterwards. But we were there for about a month. So, uh, but when we got back to North Carolina, I did, come across them every once in a while, and then one or two of them I still speak to this day.
Okay. Interesting. I would love to, like I said, I would love to talk to more witnesses about this case. I think you've done a great job of clearing up some of the misrepresentation that's happened with this case. And I really just want to thank you for your time. I know you just took an hour, a little bit more than an hour out of your day to do this, more if not. And I'm sure we'll be talking more and hopefully setting up more interviews and getting trying to build the bigger picture, build the defense beyond a reasonable doubt that something extraordinary happened that night on 29 Palms Base. Because that's what you think. Is that what you're sticking by?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I really love that, man. Stick to your guns. Like, don't waver. Don't waver for a second. James Fox has a great documentary called I Know What I Saw. And I told you my UFO story before we started recording. I know what I saw. You know what you saw. But,
Right.
People like John Greenwald from the Black Vault who do a lot of FOIA requests, he emailed Susan Go, got this information within 24 hours. The DOD has all this information on a training exercise that happened 3 years prior when we know COVID was screwing everything up. Like, the timeline just doesn't add up. The narrative doesn't add up. But can you understand what's the last thing you would say to a skeptic about this case?
What's the last thing I would say to a skeptic?
Yeah, before you just walked away and said, there's no more, there's nothing else I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like you said, I know because I was there. Don't listen to the narrative that's out there right now, because a lot of these deniers or skeptics, they're misinformed. They haven't listened to podcasts like this. They just see the pictures and, shun it away as being flares, and then that's the end of their story. So I would say dig into this a little bit more and listen to podcasts more like this one and listen to the actual testimony of the people that were on the ground, which there are quite a few out there. So
That was beautiful, man. Sorry, I lost my voice over the past couple of days. I've been having I stayed home from work yesterday because I've been having a terrible cough. But I want to say thank you from me to you for your service to this country. Thank you for your continued effort to try to raise awareness of this case. And thank you for reaching out to thanking you. Thank you for reaching out to me because that was the goal, was to inevitably get someone who was on the ground. So I just want to say thank you for being the first person to come and speak with me personally about the 29 Palms case. And I would say, in my humble opinion, case ongoing, not case closed. Far from it.
right, there's so many voices out there like mine that haven't been heard yet. So it's never closed until we have a for sure answer. So,
and for everybody who is watching, sorry for my cough and my horsey voice. I'm trying to get over this. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. And thank you to our members. You guys are the lifeblood of this community. But we are continuing to build our network. Eventually, we want to have a Discord and a place for people to congregate and share stories, collaborate, and connect and network. So all that is coming soon. If you want to help support the channel as well, you can buy something from our merch store, which is obviously linked below. Thank you so much, everyone, for who tuning in the future. I love y'all, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again, Mr. Marine Witness number 1.